Hello, Grace. This is Pastor Bryan, and having finished the time on my sabbatical, I wanted to make a video to update you on some things that are going on this Sunday. First of all, regarding the sabbatical, I do want to say just
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you to the session especially that allowed me, is that the right word for it? Maybe told me, pressed me earnestly.
All right, I'm on my way.
To take some time off to tend to my family as we navigated a very unexpected tragedy that was tough, but the Lord's been good to us, and I'll brag for a long time about how the Lord has blessed me to be able to work alongside men of God on our session who, in a moment of need for my family, they came together quite without me and just said, we need to make sure that Bryan's able to be with his family and take care of his family. And so thank you so much for that time. So I wanted to update you on some things to expect from this Sunday. We are going to have an outdoor service at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be in the field behind the gym. And so if you've been to an outdoor service before, you know where that is. You're very familiar with it. And I'm going to say, watch your email for weather cancellation. All right. Because this is Louisiana. And so because, as the old saying goes, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, it'll change. We want to wait until kind of the last possible minute to figure out whether or not we need to cancel. So for us, just given the amount of time setup takes, we're going to call that 7 o'clock a.m. So at 7 o'clock a.m. on Sunday morning, you're going to get an email with confirmation, yes, the service is happening, or a cancellation. No, it's not going to happen because of weather. But I got to be honest with you, and we talked about this during the session meeting yesterday, that a lot of you are just really hardy people, and rain would not stop you from coming to a church service.
I'm singing in the rain.
Yes and amen. So I've got to be honest, unless it's really pouring down, unless it's, lightning, terrifying, life-threatening for all of us.
Phenomenal cosmic power!
If it's just kind of lightly raining outside, we're probably going to try to still figure out a way to do that and tell you to bring your umbrellas. And if that means you can't come to the service, you can't stand out in the rain, that's okay. We're not going to say if you're really super pious, then you'll show up for the rainy service.
Well, isn't that special?
We don't do that here, right? Right. So but that's what to expect. 7 a.m. for the cancellation or the confirmation. Also, it's the first Sunday in June. And so typically for us, that means a communion Sunday. So how are we going to do communion? Well, basically, we are going to use, I think the official title here is what I'm looking at some paper here, Fellowship in a Cup. Or maybe just fellowship cups. I'm not sure. But what that is it's a little prepackaged bit of grape juice with kind of a seal on top, and it's got the little wafer, if you can call it that, underneath the seal as well. And so that's kind of what that is. Now, how can I put this delicately?
A few moments later.
Some of you might not be terribly fond of the fellowship cup. And so if that's you, if the idea of taking part in a sort of prepackaged little communion bit terrifies you, then you are welcome to bring your own elements, as long as it's bread, as long as it's fruit of the vine. Just like we did for the drive-in stuff, you can bring your own. That's completely legit. That's completely allowed. But we will have them available for you in little Ziploc bags that we will have treated very carefully. The people that will be loading up those bags will be masked and gloved, and the bags will be sanitized. And so we're going to take care of as many things like that as we can. Beyond that, so by the way, that's how we're going to do communion, both for the outdoor service and for the indoor service. More on the indoor service in a moment. In the event of good weather, you are reminded that, it's getting hot here. The sun's coming out. That's part of why the service is at 9 o'clock in the morning, to hopefully beat a little bit of the heat. So bring your own chair, bring your own sunscreen, bring your own hats, all that kind of thing. Umbrellas, we're going to have them set up for shade. And as always, wearing a mask is recommended. We appreciate those of you who do that. So again, if it's rainy or inclement weather happens, if it's real bad, we'll cancel. You'll hear about that by 7 a.m. But if it's light, I'm going to say we're going to go ahead and take appropriate cover in appropriate spots. And of course, in that case, you want to bring an umbrella or something like that. Next thing is the indoor service, which will be at 11 a.m. So again, okay, the morning service is at 9, the afternoon service is at, the indoor service is at 11. In the sanctuary, attendance is limited to 40 people. Okay, that's part of the phase 2 stuff that we're looking at, and that's what our session thought would be best, a good place to set the number. So there's a 40 person kind of ceiling limit. So you want to register for that. You want to go to the website. And there'll be a spot where you can register. Again, you're going to want to wear masks. That we've got designated areas where you sit, and we'll be carrying on with Communion Sunday in the same way that I just explained earlier. So that's an explanation of what's coming this Sunday. It's good to be back in the office again. It's good to be working and catching up with all of you again. I've got a lot of catching up to do with some of you. When I finished the sabbatical time, I literally had over 2,000 email messages in my inbox. And so I'm kind of trying to dig myself out of that hole right now. But all that aside, you may have seen in the newsletter, for both of you that read the newsletter, just kidding. For all of you that read the newsletter, that the EPC has called for a day of prayer and fasting on Monday, June the 8th. Now, since this is kind of a lighthearted video, I'm not going to talk too much about that. Talk about this day of lament, prayer, and fasting. That'll be for a separate video where I'm going to talk about kind of the things that I have planned for that and how we can continue to pray together during a really difficult time. That is the time we're in right now when we need the mercy of Jesus. We've always needed it. It's just we have the deep sense, oh, that's how much we need it, the more difficult the days get. And so grace and peace are yours because Jesus said so. I'm looking forward to seeing you Sunday. Bye-bye.